Hi, my name's Emily and I'm with the Williamsburg Library. Today I'm going to show you how to make English muffin bread. This is a very simple, quick to make yeast-based bread that's going to result in 2 loaves. It gets its name because of its very open crumb, which makes it reminiscent of English muffins. I think this is a very good bread both for toast, because that open crumb holds on to all the toppings that you put on your toast. It is also good for making a nice hearty sandwich because it's got thick slices, even though they are a little smaller than your normal bread loaf slice. And it also makes a good garlic bread. You can just put a little butter on it, your Italian herbs and seasonings, maybe a little Parmesan, and then broil it for just a few minutes, and you'll have a nice large piece of garlic bread. So I'm going to take you through the process step by step. We'll show you how it works. This is a recipe that's my mom. She's been making it for years. None of us really remember where it came from, so it's an oldie but a goodie. And let's get started. Alright, so our first step is going to be prepping the pans. So this is a good thing to do over the sink because it keeps you from making too much of a mess. You're just going to use a cooking spray to coat all of the surfaces of your pan. Once you've sprayed the pan, then you're going to take some cornmeal and sprinkle that across all 4 sides plus the bottom. Just kind of shake the pan around a little bit to get it evenly covered. And in this case we need to have 2 pans, so you're going to do this process twice. So the first step in getting this recipe together in terms of ingredients is preparing your liquids. So we need to have 2 cups of milk. Pour that first. And you need an additional ½ cup of water. And then we just need to warm this up until it gets to about 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll just cover it with plastic wrap, put it in the microwave, and if you've got a little thermometer, that's the best way to check on your temperature. Alright, now we're going to start to get our dry ingredients together. This recipe uses 6 cups of flour total, but we start with 3 in the cups and then add the other 3 cups later. So I've already put 2 cups in. Here's my third one, putting it into the mixer. Then our next ingredient is sugar, and that we need 1 tablespoon. I should open that beforehand, I'm tight on the cover. Alright, our 1 tablespoon of sugar. And then we need 2 teaspoons of salt. There's 1. And 2. We're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And finally, we're going to put in our yeast. So there's 2 ways you can do that. You can either do, if you have the packets, you're going to need 2 packets of yeast. If you have the jar yeast, 1 packet equals 2 1/4 teaspoons. So for this recipe, if you're doing it from the jar, you would need 4 1/2 teaspoons. So I'm going to open up our packages here. Dump those in. And then we're just going to combine these ingredients a tiny bit. For this mixer, I've got a flour guard, so I'm going to use that. Put on our beater. And this will just be a real quick moment on the mixer to get things combined. Alright, now we are going to start pouring in our warmed up liquids, the milk and the water, in with the first 3 cups of flour, and mix those together, and hopefully our splash guard will keep it pretty under control. Just go slowly. Now I'm going to pause for a minute before I put the rest of the liquids in and start with the 4th cup of flour because it's getting pretty damp in there. Just put that in slowly. Alright, now I'm going to do the rest of my liquids. Now just pause for a second and get cups 5 and 6 of the flour. Okay, I'm just about to add the 6th cup of flour. Oops, forgot the lock there, the last one. And just scrape off a bit of flour here on the pour spout. Now this is a pretty damp dough. Now that it's fairly well combined, we'll pause and take off the spill guard so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so off camera, I scraped down the sides of the bowl, did a last mix to get the remaining flour combined, and cleaned off the beater. So I just want to give you a chance to see what the dough looks like. It's fairly wet. I will here scoop it up so you can kind of see. So not soaking wet by any means, but softer than maybe you normally think about for bread dough. Okay, now that our dough is ready, we need to divide it into the pans. So you're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl to get everything kind of in one glob. And then half the dough goes into each pan. It's sort of just going to pour in. You're not really forming a loaf like you do with some breads. Okay, so we are almost ready to have our dough rise. We are gonna cover each pan with some cling wrap, plastic wrap, and spray the wrap so that the dough doesn't stick to it as it gets larger. And then these are gonna be ready to rise. So you just wanna put them in a warm place and leave them be for 45 minutes. An easy way to do that is to just put your oven on at 350 degrees and leave it there for like 2 minutes and then turn it back off, and that should be plenty of warmth to get your rise. Okay, so we have taken the loaves out of the oven. They rose for about 45 minutes and soon we'll be able to cook them. We just need to preheat the oven. We are going to put it at 400 degrees. And once we have gotten preheated there to 400 degrees, then we will be cooking for 25 minutes. Okay, so after cooking for 25 minutes, we have taken our bread out of the oven, and you can see that it looks like it's nice and done. And the next step is to flip it out onto cooling racks. You want to do that right away. Alright, if it doesn't immediately pop out of the pan, you may need to loosen the edges a little bit with a knife. Alright, so both loaves are out of the pan now, and we're just going to let them cool. You want to get them completely cooled off before you slice. Okay, our bread is cooled, so now we're going to slice off a piece, and you can see the large crumb English muffin-ness of it. that look tasty? Alright, so that's it for making English muffin bread. It really is pretty easy, so I encourage you to try it at home. If you want to experiment with baking more types of bread or anything in general, Clermont County Public Library has tons of cookbooks, both physical copies and digital copies. So I encourage you to check those out.